Sinai. This is fresh from the Talmud, a very, very beautiful and famous and critical piece of Talmud on Tractate Shabbos 89a about what happened on the mountain before Moses was able to bring down the Torah to planet Earth. Very, very big deal. The angels were not impressed. They were not impressed with Moses as a human being, a son of a mortal woman, to be able to accept God's greatest, most treasured gift. Until we learned in the previous class, until we learned that Moses explained that the purpose of Torah is not to be spiritual. The purpose of Torah is to be holy. What's the difference between spiritual and holy? Spiritual is the antithesis of physical. That was the angle of the angels. Moses explains to the angels that the purpose of Torah is not to be spiritual, the antithesis of physical. The purpose of Torah is to be holy, which holy means the will of God. What's the will of God? The will of God is to descend into the physical, and within the physical, within the corruption, within the darkness, to shine a light. And hence the Torah is most relevant and most important and most applicable to where? To man, much more than angels. Upon the angels, it would make no dent. There'd be no, I mean, not to say that it would make no dent, but it would be not deserving its potential.
Well, they were already elevated.
Exactly. The purpose of Torah is to illuminate the darkness, at least one of the purposes of Torah. We're going to go on in the Talmud. That was a summary of what we learned until now. Another teaching by Rabbi Shub Levi. Said Rabbi Shub Levi when Moses descended from the mountain, from before the Holy One, blessed be He, after receiving the Torah, Satan came and said before God. Remember, we learned about Satan. No, about Satan last time as well. Satan has another alter ego. Satan and the angel of death is the same angel. Satan is the seducer. Angel of death is the executioner. Satan is also the prosecutor. He's a seducer and the prosecutor. Causes you to sin and then holds you to account for it. And the angel of death is the executor of the verdict. So we learned last time that Satan gave Moses a gift. He told him the secret of overcoming death. Remember what that was? The incense. The incense. That's right. It was about the incense, and we read about the incense in our daily prayers. Every morning we spoke about that in the previous session.
What page is it on?
Well, so, first of all, you know Ein Kelokenu?
Right.
Ein Kelokenu at the end of the service.
Sure.
So right after Ein Kelokenu, there's Pita Maktoris, which is the preparation of the incense. Right, that's the bottom of 78 in the prayer book. And if you also, and then again, it appears earlier in the service. It appears on page 19. 19 and 20. 19 and 20. Okay. Anyways, back to the Satan. So after Moses descended from before the Holy One, blessed be, after receiving the Torah, Satan came and said before God, Master of the universe, where is the Torah? God said to Satan, I've given it to the earth. Satan went to the earth and he asked for it, where is the Torah? It said to him, the Torah said to him, God understood the path and he knows its place. Satan then went to the sea. And it told him, it is not with me. Satan went to the depth and it said to him, it is not with me. This is as it said, the depth said, it is not in me, and the sea said it is not with me. Satan went to destruction and death, i.e. to Gehinnom, which is purgatory. Destruction and death said, with our ears we heard its report. So there's like this whole wild goose chase going on over here. Question is, I mean, just to get a context over here, how could Satan not have been aware of the giving of the Torah? What, like he didn't get the memo? He suddenly sees the Torah is not there anymore. He's wondering where it is. Like what happened? The Chassam Sofer answers that certainly Satan was aware of this event. After all, Satan is identical with the angel of death, as I mentioned. And the Gemara just said that the angel of death taught Moses his secret when the Torah was given. Nevertheless, when the angels relented and supported the transmission of the Torah to the lower realms, they were under the impression that it would remain in the upper realms. That is, it would be shared between heaven and earth. In this, they were mistaken. A fundamental principle of halacha is that the Torah is not in heaven. The Torah is not in heaven. The Torah is based on earth. Ministering angels have no portion in it. After Moses descended with the Torah, leaving nothing behind, Satan therefore asked, where is the Torah? Maharsha explains a little differently that Satan was perfectly knowledgeable regarding the giving of the Torah. He simply proceeded to play his role as evil inclination and entice the Jews to renege on their commitment. He's getting to work right away. He argued that there was a mismatch between the depths of the discipline and the shallowness of the disciples. Thus, Satan first goes to the earth and says, and see, as if to drive home the message of the verse, the Torah is longer in measure than the earth and wider than the sea. Now, obviously, Satan didn't converse with the earth. Maharsha explains that he can spoke with the angel appointed over the earth. Right? So that's just to give it a little more.
Different angel.
Yeah, different angel. Okay. So back to the story. Satan returned and said, before the Holy One, blessed be He, Master of the universe, I searched the entire earth, but I did not find the Torah. God said to him, go to the son of Amram. Who's the son of Amram? Moshe. That's a very interesting way to refer to Moses as the son of Amram. When God told Satan, I've given it to the earth, he intimated that the Torah endures only in a humble environment. I've given it to the earth. Satan traveled from heaven down to the earth, but did not find the Torah. He went lower to the sea, then lower to the depths, and even lower to purgatory, to death and destruction. Yet he did not find it. Finally, God said to him, go to the son of Amram, the humblest of all men. It says about Moses that he was the humblest of all men, and there you shall find the Torah. It's interesting. He doesn't even refer to him by his name, but rather it's Ben Amram, the son of Amram, which seems to indicate to remove even the focus of him on Moses, as if to say he's merely the son of Amram. Such is the intensity of his humility, because humility, you should know, is a catalyst for blessing. And the repulsion of blessing is ego. He who chases after honor, says the Talmud, honor runs away from him. He who runs away from honor, honor chases after him. Again, perplexed. He who chases after honor, honor runs away from him. He who runs away from honor, honor chases after him. Okay, so Moses here is a man who is the paradigm of receiving the Torah, because Moses is the man about whom the Torah testifies. And the man Moses was more humble than any other human being upon the face of the earth.
And we refer to it as Torah's Moshe.
Torah's Moshe. Why do we call it Torah's Moshe? Because he was humble. Humility is the landing spot of infinity. Think about this for a moment. Where would God's infinite light be able to dwell? It would not be able to dwell in something which is defined. When you have an ego, you're like, me, this is I. I'm the Empire State Building, I'm the Pyramids of Giza, I'm the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, I'm the Grand Canyon, I am the Panama Canal, right? In other words, when you come in with ego, you're coming in with structure. You're like, this is my predefined default settings, right? And I am great, and I'm ready now to receive something new. It doesn't work, because infinity cannot dwell on a predefined definition. Infinity can only dwell where there is no definition, because infinity is the antithesis of definition. Once you've placed infinity within a box, you've either lost infinity or you've lost the box. You understand what I'm saying? If you put a million watts of volts of electricity into a little light bulb, what's going to happen? Either the light bulb is going to blow up, or the voltage is not going to flow through that. Right? Same thing when you put infinity into a place, either the finitude, the definition, will blow, or the infinity will not flow. Where will the infinity flow? Only where there is zero ego, where there is zero definition. That is the perfect conduit for infinity. Right? So Moses, therefore, is the ultimate representation of infinity. Now, it's interesting, Tanya teaches us in chapter 35 of Tanya that the soul of every single Jew has a piece of infinity in it. Every single Jew has God's infinity flowing through it. Which part of the soul, Tanya asks? Which part of our soul? Remember, our soul is in intellect and emotions. Which part of our soul is the conduit for infinity? Think about this. The 10 attributes of your soul are all have character. They all have definition: compassion, triumph, communication, in intellect, let's say, understanding, knowledge, wisdom. All of these have character. So where can you dwell infinity within the soul? Tanya asks. And Tanya responds, it's the first of the 10 attributes. The first of the 10 attributes is chachma. Chachma is the idea. What happened? How do you get an idea? Where does an idea come from? An idea comes from when you ask a question. Only when you have the humility to ask a question and say, I don't know something, that's when you get the burst, the surge of inspiration. In fact, that surge of inspiration, the lightning strike, it's called in Kabbalah, is so powerful that it takes you time to digest it, which is why you need to focus on the Chachma in order to expand it, to flesh it out into Bina, into comprehension. So Chachma is actually made up of two words, Koach Ma. If you rearrange the letters, Koach Ma means the power of what? The power of nothing. It's the power of humility. Chachma is the ability to say, I don't know, and that's when you get an answer. An answer never comes without a question mark prior, right? Okay, good. Anyway, so now we understand that God is answering Satan with this beautiful response. You want to know what the Torah is? It's in the hands of the humble. It's in the hands of Moses, which, by the way, on a very practical level means for us, friends, it means the following. That if you're going to be a conduit for God's infinite blessings, if you're going to retain God's Torah in order to bless your actions, to bless your business and your relationships and your health and your politics and your sense of self, if you're harboring ego, you've expelled the presence of God from within you. And if you want to channel infinity through you, you need to be humble. What does it mean to be humble? Humble does not mean meek. Humble does not mean that you're a shmata. How do you translate shmata?
Right.
A doormat that everybody steps on you. That doesn't mean to be humble. Humble, you could be the president of the United States and you could be humble. Why? Because humble means that you know that the strengths and the powers that you have are gifted to you from on high. That's what humble means. Ego says, I am great. Humble says, I am grateful. In other words, I know who I am. I know that I'm the leader of the known world. I know that I'm a great speaker, thinker, writer, businessman, entrepreneur, whatever. But I know that that is a gift from God. And that's why I'm always humble before my maker. That is how you channel infinity. So this is a very beautiful piece that's being taught to us right here in this interesting piece of exchange between God and the Satan, a piece that you could easily miss if you don't read between the lines. Anyways, so Satan goes down to Moses and he asked him, the Torah that the Holy One Blessed is He gave it to you. Where is it? Moses replied to the Satan, now who am I that the Holy One Blessed be He should have given me the Torah? In character, Moses is speaking with tremendous humility. He's being evasive. Literally, the translation of what he said is, he says, not who am I, he says, what am I? In other words, the Satan in effect asked Moses, where is the hidden light of the Torah? You are clearly incapable of containing it since you are a mere mortal born of a woman. So Moses responds as if he concedes to the point. All he knows is the external aspect of Torah. Its essence is certainly beyond him. That's his answer on a superficial level. But my understanding of this Torah, of this response of Moses, is profound. Moses is saying, what do you mean? Of course, the Torah is not capable of being retained within me. But look at his words. He says, "V'chima'ani." I'm going to translate this directly from the original. And behold, what am I that God has given me the Torah? You could read it as a rhetorical question, like, what am I that I deserve to be given the Torah? Or you could read it as a statement. Behold, I am nothing, and that's why God gave me the Torah. That's how you read it. Behold, I am nothing, v'chimani shenatani HaKadosh Baruch Hu Torah. This is why God has given me the Torah, because I am humble. Elsewhere in the Talmud, it says about ego. It says, "Ein ani v'hu yachel nadur." He and I cannot coexist. The one entity that God cannot tolerate. It's a big deal for God not being able to tolerate his ego. Ego is the one thing that God cannot tolerate. That's why idolatry is such a big thing. What's idolatry? Idolatry is effectively saying that there's God and there's another being or another getchke, another chachke, right? That's effectively what you're saying. There's an ego, right? Sin is also ego. Sin is saying God wants it this way and I want it that way, right? Humility is to say God wants it this way and I'm going to try my best to go that way because God is the ultimate power. God is the exclusive power. So ego is something that God cannot tolerate. Humility is the conduit, the catalyst for the greatest possible blessings. It says in the Chumash, the beginning of the Chumash, talks about the sons of Noach. the generations of Noah. And there was one particular guy, it says over there, he had more kids than anybody else. His fertility chart was through the roof. And Rashi points out, why was he merited to have more children than anybody else? And Rashi says his name was Yaktan. Yaktan, you know what Yaktan means? Katan, what does Katan mean? Small. Yaktan is it's like a present participle form of small. He was smallified. Smallification, it was his name. Smallification. Yaktan, right? Because he would make himself small. He would make himself humble. And that's why, says Rashi, he received the greatest blessings in a physical plane in the birthing suites of the local hospital. It manifests in the hospital, right? In other words, this is not just an idea. It's not just academic. It actually manifests in a physical plane. You're going to say something?
Yeah. In chapter 31 of
Tanya.
It goes on and on and on about splintering and crushing.
Yeah.
Excuse me, your ego.
Correct.
And ego is self and pleasure, right? So where I was having a hard time reconciling that pleasure under all circumstances at any time is wrong. So why am I misunderstanding?
You're misinterpreting, yeah.
The definition
You're
of
absolutely
what ego
misinterpreting.
is?
You're absolutely misinterpreting. Ego is a sense of self, a sense of separation from God Almighty. When we say pleasure, we're talking about self-indulgence, indulgement of self. That's the context of Tanya 31, that you pampering the self versus seeing yourself as part of a much greater piece. For example, imagine you have an engine. You have an engine, right? An engine of a car. I know nothing about engines, but imagine an engine, and there's one piece that he feels he needs to get all the glory. And he feels, well, if that piece is not being nice to me, then I'm not going to be nice to him. You're going to destroy the whole system. And you realize that you're a cog in a whole greater engine. That's when everything flows. But if you suddenly have to stick out with your personal preferences and idiosyncrasies, you're going to mess the whole system up. So yeah, pleasure means self-indulgence. In that context, it's talking about ego as a arrogance.
So is there any circumstance where pleasure is good?
Yeah.
Personal pleasure?
Absolutely. Divine pleasure. Absolutely. There's holy pleasure. There's positive pleasure. There's self-indulgent pleasure. And any pleasure which is not self-indulgent would be certainly considered holy. For example, if you have pleasure from studying Torah, for example, if you have Torah from loving the people in your, from being kind and selfless to other people, that is holy pleasure.
But if I get pleasure from driving a Mercedes, that's not good.
It could be. It could be good. It could be good. The question is if you're doing it because you're grateful to God for the gifts that He bestowed upon you. That's holy pleasure. Or if you're doing it because you're feeling like, because you feel like you're like, I'm such a great guy. The question is, you got to dig deeper into understanding the nuance.
The basic thing that I see with ego is I'm the master of my destiny. That's the opposite of where you should be. If I'm the master of my destiny, then it's not God that's in charge.
Exactly.
So
exactly,
if you can think of everything that's the opposite of I'm the master of my destiny.
I have my Mercedes because Hashem.
Are you putting yourself on a pedestal, or are you putting God on a pedestal and saying, thank you, God, for endowing me with this beautiful food, with this beautiful money, with this beautiful resources, this beautiful car, whatever it is. If it's an attitude of gratitude, that's holy. Let's keep on going. It's a very fine line.
It's all based upon your motivation.
Exactly. Yes. Big deal in Tanya. Let's keep on going, guys. Okay, because we're in the middle of this discussion with Moses now and the Satans. So Moses is being challenged by the Satan and he's being evasive. A special welcome to all of our online viewers, to Corey, Fran, Stacy, Juana, Chava, Leah, and Terry, and everybody else that's incognito. Okay, so let's keep on going. Moses replied to him, now, because I am humble, therefore God has given me the Torah. Now, that's how I interpreted the verse. It's still counterintuitive to say that a person recognizes that he's humble, because think about that for a moment. The moment that you know that you're humble, you've lost it, right? So that's why I believe that Moses' response to the angel is shrouded in enigma, in a mystery, where you could read it more likely as a rhetorical question, which was deprecating, self-deprecating, and a deeper read into the question is an understanding of a much deeper message, where he's telling him, listen, it's humility, and therefore I'm striving towards humility in order to be found worthy. The Holy One, blessed be He, said to Moses, Moses, are you a fibber? You know what a fibber is? A liar. Of course I gave the Torah to you. So God intervenes. He's like, one second, why are you denying that you got the Torah? Are you a liar? Moses said before him, Master of the universe, you have this coveted and treasured Torah that you delight in every day. Should I flatter myself that you gave the Torah to me? You see, Moses is self-deprecating. In other words, it was only because you extended a bit of the radiance of your presence upon me that I was able to receive the Torah's essence. Even though Moses was apparently disingenuous in claiming to Satan that he did not know the inner Torah, this does not reflect upon his integrity. It is the practice of the rabbinical scholars to understate the true extent of the knowledge. You know, you're allowed to lie about 3 things. You're never allowed to lie except for 3 things. There's 3 truth exceptions. You ready? Number 1 is if somebody asks you hospitality. What was it like staying at that person's house? And if you tell the truth, how amazing it was. If you tell the truth, how amazing it was, then he's going to be overwhelmed with hospitality requests. So you're allowed to downplay it and say, it was okay, instead of saying it was amazing. So as not to inundate the host. A second one is shalom bayit, when it comes to making peace in the family. For example, if says about Aaron would bend the truth in order to bring peace between man and his wife. He would say, when he saw a man and woman would fight, would have an argument, he would go to the one and he'd say, your spouse told me that they feel really badly and they regret what they did. They should not have said what they said to you. They feel bad about it. So the listening spouse now feels validated. Then he goes to the other spouse and he says the same thing to the other spouse. So that spouse now feels validated. So by the time they see each other, both their guards are down, their defenses are down, knowing that the other one is regretting, and he was able to bring peace between them. So that's the second truth exception in the Talmud. The third truth exception in the Talmud is it's about Torah knowledge. Somebody asks you how much Torah you know, you don't have to tell them the whole truth. Like the rabbi that somebody asked them, so is it true that you know the whole Talmud off by heart? He says, no, I only know half. Which half? Whichever one you want. Okay, so let's keep on going. So says so this is what Moses responds. The Holy One, blessed be he, said to Moses, since you have diminished your role in receiving the Torah, it shall be called by your name. This is as it is said, Zichru Toiras Moshe Avdi, remember the Torah of Moses, my servant. That's a prophecy from Malachi, which basically shows us the intense empowerment of humility. That if you want to be able to become great, you must first make yourself small. In contrast, in sharp contrast to the obnoxion, is that a word? Or the obnoxiousness of the United States general elections, where each one walks around like a peacock trying to tell everybody else why they're the greatest gift to mankind, why each candidate tells you why they are the best thing since sliced bread. And it's painful. Imagine you have a candidate up there one day and says, I'm
not so good.
I'm not that great. Imagine if they got up there and they said the truth. They're like, look, I'm just human. I'm imperfect. But you know what? The other guys, I'm doing things differently to the other guys. Imagine they said, I'm doing things differently to the other guys. I don't agree with their Middle East policy. I don't agree with this. But look, I have my flaws. Don't get me wrong. I'm imperfect too. But I think you should vote for me because
I'm honest.
I'm honest and I have my way of doing it. And if you believe in my way of doing it, you should vote for me. Imagine you had a candidate like that. What would happen?
That was Mitt Romney.
Mitt Romney tried that?
Yeah.
Interesting.
The antithesis of humility is the absence of being willingness to say, I made a mistake. Have you ever seen a politician of either party ever?
You know who acknowledged that he made a mistake? I want to tell you something. Very important. You say that.
I was wrong.
Very important. Exactly. When was the last time a politician said, you know what, I was wrong? Yeah. King Saul, when King Saul was told by the prophet that he made a mistake, he doubled down. I didn't make a mistake. I meant it this way. I didn't mean it that way. I didn't say it. If I didn't say it, I meant it. He was going on. And the prophet basically says to him, listen, the kingdom's ripped away from you. His successor, King David, also was told by the prophet that he made a mistake. But how does King David respond? 2 words. Chatasi la'Hashem. I have sinned to God. That's his 2 words. That's all he said. Comes clean. He comes clean and he says, you're right. I didn't realize.
That's why Mashiach comes.
And that's why the prophet says, you know what? We're modifying the.
Doesn't even say I didn't realize. It does say.
Yeah, Chadaz Hashem. He's like straight up, no bones about it. No No innuendo here, right? Okay, let's go just a little bit further because it's such a fascinating piece of Talmud here. Another teaching, Rabbi Shimon Levi. So we learned so much about humility. We learned why the Torah is called the Torah of Moshe. Beautiful. And Rabbi Shimon Levi said when Moses ascended to the heavenly heights, he found the Holy One, blessed is he, fastening crowns to the letters of the Torah. Moses said nothing. God said to him, Moses, are there no greetings in your town? You don't say hello? Can you imagine? Is it not your custom to greet people in your town? In other words, like, why don't you say hi? So Moses said before him, is there any servant who greets his master? It's inappropriate. Me, I'm the servant. I'm supposed to interrupt you while you're doing this thing. Proper reverence demands that I not greet you first. When you walk into the house of a mourner, you're not supposed to open your mouth until the mourner opens his mouth first. So when you stand in the presence of your teacher, you don't say, hey, Rabbi, how you doing? You were supposed to wait for the Rabbi to say to you when he's ready. God said to him, you should have at least offered me support. You should have said, may your labors be successful. In other words, you could have acknowledged, a little, something,
Then you're interrupting him, though.
Immediately Moses said to him, and now may the strength of my Lord be magnified as you have spoken. Moses should have prayed that God assist his people to overcome their desire and observe the Torah. Any assistance rendered to the Jewish people was assistance rendered to God, as it says in the Medrash, the salvation of the Jewish people was the salvation of the omnipresent. Alternatively, Ben Yehoyada explains that God himself did not in any way need Moses' blessing. Rather, God wished to teach the protocol appropriate amongst human beings. It's difficult for Moses to get the protocol right here with God. He had no precedent. Like, who else is engaging with God? What's the rules of etiquette when it comes to talking to God? I mean, he doesn't really have one of those, so they're in formation. Let's do one last piece over here. A final teaching by Rabbi Shimon Levi regarding the giving of the Torah, which of course we celebrate this Wednesday. And Rabbi Shimon Levi said, what is the meaning of that which is written? The people saw that Moses had delayed in ascending the mountain. What was the result that they did?
Golden calf.
They built the golden calf. Do not read this verse as it is written, delayed. Voishesh, rather read the verse as it is written, Va'ushesh, 6 had passed. Voishesh can be read as Ba'ushesh. It's basically, remember, there's no vowels in the Torah, right? There's no vowels in the Torah, and therefore you can either read it as that Moses was delayed, or you can read it. It doesn't make sense in English, but in the Hebrew, you can read it as they saw that 6 had passed. What does that mean? When Moses ascended to the heavenly heights, he said to the Jewish people, at the end of 40 days, at the beginning of the 6th hour of the day, I will come back. That's when Moses had left them a message. Moses meant that he would return on the 17th of Tammuz. The people, however, misconstrued his words and thought that he would return on the previous day, on the 16th of Tammuz. At the end of 40 days, according to the people's count, i.e. on the 16th of Tammuz, Satan came and threw the world into confusion. It's my birthday, 16th of Tammuz. So Satan came on the 16th of Tammuz, the day that they miscalculated Moses' return, and he threw the world into confusion. He caused the people to receive a picture of gloom. There was a bad storm, darkness, murk, and cloudy, fog-like chaos. His intent was to deceive them that Moses had died. He made it like such a dark day. Like the storms you have sometimes in Florida, where you think it's the middle of the night, So that's what Satan did. He said to them, Moses, your teacher, where is he? He asked the question. Satan did not assume the form of a person and carry on a conversation with the Jews. Rather, he planted doubt and worry in their minds regarding Moses' welfare until they succumbed and panicked. He was building up the panic. Remember, I said that Satan was a seducer as well, right? To seducer, prosecutor, and an angel of death. So here he's seducing them to reject, to panic, right? So they told him he ascended to the heavenly heights. Satan said to him, 6 hours have passed already. He would have returned by now, yet he's not here. However, the people paid no attention to him. Satan then said he has died, but the people paid no attention to him. Satan then showed the image of Moses' bier being carried in the heavens. He made like a little PowerPoint or something. Yeah. The sight affected them. The visual affected them. Remember, we learned so much about Klippa, that we affected more than anything by what we see, much more than by what we hear, right? So they saw the visual, they couldn't handle it. And that's why they said to Aaron subsequently, make for us gods that will go out before us. For this man Moses, we do not know what became of him.
I guess part of the golden calf is that they couldn't speak directly to Hashem,
Yeah. They need an intermediary. That's how we learn in the Chassidus,
Right.
that they weren't trying to reject God. They were actually trying to engage with God. They were like, if Moses is our intermediary, is gone, then
We need some other intermediary.
okay. The Gemara expounds the word v'zeh, this, which would probably refer to something in front of them to which they could point. This something was the image of God, the image of the dead Moses, right? How is it possible that a nation that just stood before at the pinnacle of piety at Mount Sinai should so quickly plunge towards the vulgarity of idols? Furthermore, the Gemara says below 105 that the method of the evil inclination is to tell someone to do a small sin today, another small sin tomorrow, and so on until you can tell them to do a big sin to worship idols. Yet here in regard to the August assembly at Mount Sinai, the evil inclination managed to bring them to this point in one fell swoop. Reb Chaim Shmulevitz, the Rosh Yeshiva of Mir, explains, from the time the Jewish people left Egypt, Moses went before them, he led them, and he guided them in every action. Suddenly Satan showed them that Moses is dead. Alarm confronts them, and chaos surrounds them, broken and crushed over the death of their leader. They lose their moral equilibrium. When a person is confused and feels bereft of options, Satan can achieve far more than under normal circumstances. There is no need for a step-by-step approach. Satan can knock him from a high roof to a deep pit with one fell blow. Okay. One thing I want to, the next piece of Talmud, by the way, the next piece of Talmud is when the Talmud says, why was the Torah given on a mountain called Sinai? Because Sinai is a homophone. Sinai is a word which sounds similar to another word, Sina, which means hatred. Sinai is hatred, Sinai is the mountain. Because it's a homophone, the same word means hatred. Because the moment that the Torah was given on Sinai, hatred and anti-Semitism descended to this earth. Anti-Semitism descended to this earth. In other words, it's not about land. It's not about settlements. It's not about genocide. It's not about anything else. It's not about the Jews defending themselves. It's not about hostages. It's about being the chosen nation. They cannot stand the fact that the Jewish people are the chosen nation. I wrote about this at length in my email on this past Friday.
I read it. Did.
I hope you enjoyed it.
I did.
Good.
I passed it on.
Fantastic. Good. I heard a tremendous amount of feedback from that particular email. Sinai is a homophone of hatred. Today's Torah study has been sponsored by Andy and Hannah Siegelstein in gratitude to their son Eric for his good deeds. All right, folks, have a good day and Shabbat Shalom. Be well.